She was only 12, yet she'd experienced as much pain and loss as Oris had in his 66 years of life.
"He will come," replied Oris.
"Does he still love us?"
the child asked.
"Don't ask that," snapped Alexander. "You'll end up like Lyanna."
Oris silenced his nephew with a look.
"Of course he still loves us," he told Callie. "We are Karak's children. He will always love us."
Her eyes gazed up at him, full of grief and skepticism.
"But Father was Karak's child too, and Grandmeme and Papa and Uncle Ulrich."
"Yes, Callie, but what happened was complicated."
"How?"
"Stop asking questions," her brother shouted, suddenly losing his temper.
Oris whirled, his misshapen hand grabbing the boy by the lapel of his surcoat. He pulled him in close, and though Alexander was 19 and strong as an ox, he was helpless in Oris's clutches.
"Mind your tongue,"
he growled into his nephew's ear,
"or I will mind it for you."
Alexander sniffled, then dropped his head in submission. Releasing the boy, Oris stepped toward Callie and lifted her from the muddy ground, wrapping her up in his arms. She pressed her face into his shoulder, but didn't shudder, didn't cry. She simply allowed him to hold her, like one of the dolls his wife Ebby had made for his daughters when they were born. He wished he could remind the child how much wonder there was in the world, how their lives were gifts from Karak. The Moris were one of Karak's first families. Their god would never bring undue hurt to them. He knew that. At least, he had once known that. So much had changed over the last few months. The treasons for which his beloveds had been executed, the ever-growing army, the destructive attack on Haven, and the bloody clash between the brother gods. All of it had powered the tongues of merchants, bandits, and small folk alike. Keeping his surviving family calm and united had proved a near impossible task. The events had cast a pall of sadness over what had once been a sparkling outpost of Naldar.
"I wish Julian was still here,"
whispered Callie. Oris nodded. Julian had been Ulrich's youngest, a merry lad with an odd preference for dolls over swords and shields. He had been close to the girls, Oris's as well as Wolfram's, but Ulrich's widow had taken her 3 boys in a fit of grief, leaving Erznia during a raging winter storm. Oris feared the worst for them. Yet another loving soul gone, yet another beloved family member taken away, making a place that had once seemed safe feel anything but.
"We will see them again,"
he said, keeping his voice low. He heard Alexander grunt behind him, the youth's failed attempt at hiding his sobs, and Callie leaned back in Oris's arms.
"In Ephraim?"
she asked, her young eyes sparkling with hope. Oris chuckled.
"Hopefully sooner than that, sweet pie," he replied. "But yes, if we never again see them in this life, we will most certainly greet them in Ephraim. If we can find our way through,"
he thought, but did not say. Seeming to accept that, she once more rested her head on his shoulder. A thick layer of clouds passed over the sun, and Oris released his niece, stretching to his full height. A strange feeling came over him, like an invisible phantasm whispering into his ear, and he shuddered. He turned to look at Alexander, and he could tell his nephew felt it too. The young man stared around wildly, his fingers playing across the hilt of the short sword hanging from his belt. A wolf bayed, and the sound was far nearer than should have been possible. A 15-foot wall of pine and steel encircled Erznia. The only way a wolf could get inside was if someone let it in. Then the beast howled again, and Oris realized it was no wolf. Another sound emerged beneath the howling, a muted bang and clank that reminded him of the time he'd taken a tour of the Mount Halen Armory in the far north. Swords. A queer sort of panic surged through him. Grabbing Callie's hand, Oris ran toward the manor through the cover of the trees. Alexander fell in step behind him. Oris's lungs, scarred after inhaling copious amounts of smoke while foolishly rescuing 3 whores from a burning brothel in Velderin, no longer worked as well as they should. After a few paces, he was breathing heavily.